Go!
3, 2, 1, Ghost. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to 3, 2, 1, Ghost. I'm your host, the Wicked Witch of the West Coast, Natalie. And with me, as always, is my BFFF, Kyle. Hey, Kyle.
That is
How are you?
too many F's for my comfort. I'm okay.
Do you know what the third F is for?
Frightfully.
Ooh, that's good, but no, it's best fucking friend forever.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't have to swear at me, but I do. Oh, so let's add that extra F. Best fucking frightfully fun friend forever.
BFFFF.
I'm good. How are you? Did you ask?
I did ask how you are. Well, we finally reached the end of the year, the last day of the year. And this time we're ahead because we're doing an end of year episode, but we did a mid-year episode this year because we're a year and a half into this podcast now.
Hey,
Pretty good.
pretty proud of us.
So we are going to focus on July to December for movies, television, all those good things. But before we do that, I want to start by giving everyone we know a really hard time. And what I mean by that is recently I've discovered that there are some of you out there who we know personally who've listened to our podcast, possibly for almost like a year, and have never uttered a word to us about it. There's a few of you out there. So if you've listened to our podcast and you've enjoyed our podcast, you can let us know verbally through a message, through an email, through an Instagram comment. You can also leave us a review. I would love more 5-star reviews, 5-star reviews only. So I had to put that out there, and I'm speaking on behalf of Kyle and I.
Jesus, did you have to do that? Because I
Yes.
don't know if I agree. Unless it's a 5-boob review
Mm-hmm.
or whatever equivalent ranking score that you use. See, I'm always under the assumption it's that either they don't listen or they listened once and they're like, ugh, not quite for us. No, thank you. Or
But
like,
that would never happen.
right. Yeah, let us know, I guess. Yeah, okay, let us
Yeah,
know.
let us know. We love to
I don't know
hear
if I'm
it.
ready for that. That's always the part that when you put anything out into the world, that is the one thing I just don't. I'm just so hard on myself. Why do I want to listen to other people be hard on me?
I
Right?
thrive off of it. I'm like, give me all the feedback and or praise, and I might push back a little bit, but I want to hear it. Like I want to hear it.
I think in the new year, my resolution is maybe to force you to host more episodes because as we're going to find out, especially with this episode, you're just so good at it.
Oh, thank you. I think so too. And I'll agree to those terms. I'll agree to it. That's
Love
fine.
it.
Okay. So, as with every bonus episode and Natalie hosted episode, there's always a set of rules because it's not fun if you don't have rules.
Always.
So again, we are focusing on July through December. So if we don't mention your favorite movies from the beginning of the year, that's because you didn't listen to the mid-year episode. So maybe pause and go back and listen to the mid-year if you want to hear about those.
Or you may not hear it because the movie like sucks and we don't want to talk about it. Not as, and it doesn't even suck like super suck because we talk
Yeah.
about the ones we really don't like, but
Mhm.
ones that were just like in that middle of the pack, just like we don't even want to fuck with this. Like if your
Yeah.
favorite movie is Night Swim, good
Oh,
on you. But that's
yeah,
great.
no.
And I'd love to hear you and meet you. But so,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you right now, because I'm coming off the cuff sometimes, I might bend to these rules a little bit. I will not break them because I respect you and I respect this institution. But I'm gonna have a little fun. It's the end of the year, okay?
Okay, okay. But I do think that this next rule is very important for you to not break, and you can edit it out if you do. We're going to keep it spoiler free because these are newer releases.
No, 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 no,
Yes,
no.
we did this last time and the time before. We got to keep it spoiler free. Maybe not for our least favorites because we don't want to encourage anyone to see those.
Can I spoil one of my mid-year ones? It's been 6 months.
Yeah, I'll let you spoil a mid-year. Sure.
You get one little baby spoiler each. Okay, can we have one little baby one?
Okay, a baby spoiler. And if we start talking about a movie that you're interested in, maybe like skip a couple minutes and see where you land.
Perfect.
If you really don't want it spoiled. But if you're listening to this, you probably watched a lot of horror movies this year, would be my
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. The next rule, maybe not so much of a rule, but just a part of how this works is for every category we've picked, if we overlap, we have backups. That way you can hear more options because I think for this back half of the year, we've seen a lot more of the same movies than we did for the front half of the year. At least I think
Yeah,
so.
I think so.
Yeah. And then a disclaimer, not a rule, but we are going to share boo scores, and Kyle's totally prepared for that. So we're going to share boo scores for these movies, but know that they have a little bit of an asterisk on them because if we talk about these movies or if we see them again, the boo score could change. It could go higher, it could go lower. But a lot of these movies I know I've only seen once and mostly in the theater. So watching it at home and repeat viewings, I think can change your boo score a lot as well.
Yeah, I think everything that's come out this year is really more subject to our secondary soft boo system, where it's a little more you
Loosey
know,
goosey.
little loosey goosey, a little more nebulous, of sorts. Yeah, it could be one thing, it could shift to another. I don't know. I think it really, there's some movies that really just astound you when you see it, and then
Yeah.
maybe you come back 10 years later and you're just like, "Ugh, I don't know. Maybe it's doesn't have that same hit. But so I appreciate that. That's my double patent pending secondary soft boost system.
Yes, because the regular boo system is extremely structured and consistent. So let's not forget that.
Yeah, it's much sometimes to our detriment. So yeah,
So before we get into movies and or TV, I'm going to give Kyle a moment to talk about any horror video games that you may have played. We haven't talked about video games in a while, so I feel like we're overdue and I haven't played any this year. So it's all you.
I'll be honest, I don't feel like there was a whole lot. Last
Mm-mm.
year was wonderful for video games.
Yeah.
Um, Now, granted, some people it's a little bit of an eye roll when you hear like, this got remade, this is a remaster, this is the eighth sequel or whatever. But, honestly, if anything, it's kind of consistent with horror franchises and video game
Yeah.
franchises where they're just going to make as many of them as they can and churn them out.
Mhm.
Um, there are there are definitely now, oh yeah, certainly way more Resident Evil games than there are Resident Evil movies, but there are a lot of Resident Evil
Mhm.
movies, if
Yeah.
you count even the offshoots and stuff as well. Um, so, you know, um, as a holiday present, Christmas present, I got the Silent Hill 2
Mm.
remake. So I
Nice.
haven't jumped into that yet. I've been playing a very, very, very little bit of it.
That's a fun
But I'm
game.
very excited. Yeah, the first one, of course. Well, not
Mhm.
the first Silent Hill, but the
Yeah.
first Silent Hill 2 is, I'd say, a horror classic, top 10,
Hmm.
easy.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
It's scary.
yeah. There's another one that was really fun. I don't forget if I brought it up during one of the episodes, but Blumhouse, the horror movie studio, they
Hmm.
have a video game publishing arm that they started this year.
Yeah.
The first game that they came out with, I don't know if it's available on consoles or if it's just PC only, but there's one called Fear the Spotlight that's really fun.
Mm.
Certainly, I think caters a lot to people our age because it
Mm.
is very much like a lost PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 era
Ooh. Oh,
with those kind of 3D graphics,
oh,
like
fun.
horror game. It's all vibe, it's all atmosphere. It's about two girls that with a Ouija board in a school late
What?
at night. They do a seance. Of course, that seance does not go well.
Oh no.
And there's a sordid mystery in the school. One of the friends goes missing, so you play one of the friends.
And is it
Um,
like survival horror style?
Definitely survival horror style. It does not have you know, yeah, it's not like Resident Evil where even if ammo is limited, there's still you can shoot back, or
Mm-hmm.
Dead Space or something like that. It's definitely all vibes.
Fun. I'd play
So,
that.
yeah. And pulling it back to last year, the thing is, and I brought this up before, but not only the greatest horror game, but one of the singular greatest video games I've played in my lifetime came out October 2023 called Alan Wake 2.
You're supposed to be
And
talking about 2024.
in 2024, they came out with two DLC releases
I
for
knew it.
Alan Wake 2. Um, the most recent one came out back in October called The Lake House. It connects Alan Wake 2 to Control, which is another game that
Mm.
they came out with. They're trying to do a larger universe, which I'm not like super big on. I'd rather just keep stories just being in their own things. I don't need this overarching thing, but I get it, I
We don't need
guess.
a fucking multiverse.
Yeah, but that's okay. But I'm willing to hear it because I did like Control. It's got a very more action-based, very X-Files type of game.
Mm.
Um, but Alan Wake 2 had two DLCs. They had the Lake House, which is really good, and this one of the creepier uses of paint
Oh.
because it's a kind of a bloodless chapter, this one, but it's all paint. It's very, I don't know. I'm trying to be very broad about this.
Yeah.
And then the one that I actually preferred was earlier this year. It came in just a little too late for me to include it in our mid-year episode, but their Night Springs DLC is so much fun.
Mm.
It's Night Springs is their version of the Twilight Zone, a show within the movie or within game
Hmm.
rather. And it's got three.
This is a second Night Springs game because there was one that was for the first game as well, right?
Well, there's American Nightmare, which was a standalone DLC after the first game.
And that one wasn't Night Springs too?
It like kind of was framed as a Night Springs episode because you did have that kind of Rod
Yeah.
Serling. Yeah.
Hmm.
So whereas like this one, it's three real short, like three 45 minutes for each play for each chapter. But so it's a real short experience, but each one starring a different character. And it's all just a very different vibe. I
That's
dig it a
fun.
lot. And of course, like, with the original game, there's like a bunch of original music that's with it. I'm just so astounded by the music that's written and recorded for this game. It's so fucking good. And I know some people maybe might not like that the a lot of the DLC, or at least that first one, because there's a lot of reused environments and such. So it's not really necessarily doesn't feel much like a really
Mm.
weighty expansion,
Yeah.
Especially when you see some expansions are like and DLCs are almost like their own full-fledged fucking games. Um, but fuck, it's just so fun. The vibe is so good, and I just know that this will be my last time. Well, you know me, I'll never stop talking about something if I'm really into it. But
Yeah.
my last really reasonable time to talk about Alan Wake 2 for a long time
Well,
because
maybe they'll
that's
make a
the
third one.
well, I think they will. I'm not. It
It
was
took
like
a
what
long time to get to the second one.
13 years between.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Doing the Scream franchise
yeah,
situation.
I'm just gonna be happy with what I have. But
Nice.
yeah, there you go.
That was
And
good.
then
You kept it under 20 minutes. Or you were about to keep going though.
speaking of remakes, there was a remaster, or remake of Until Dawn that I don't think anybody wanted, nor did anyone
Oh,
buy.
I don't think we needed it.
I don't think we
Wasn't
needed
that
to,
long ago.
right? So
Yeah.
if anyone's played
Interesting.
it, let me know if it's worth it.
Yeah, or if they like maybe switch anything up.
I don't think they do.
Maybe the gameplay they change a little bit because that one is very different than the more recent games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Good. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to try in 2025 to do a better job of playing more video games. How about that? That way I have something to say next
You
year.
should.
Okay. Deal. Um, I realized I don't think mid-year we didn't talk about television. So I'll leave that open for the whole year for TV. So I'm gonna let you start each category, Kyle. So what was your top horror television series this year?
I think maybe we didn't do it mid-year because we were mourning Chucky, the series, which ended, unfortunately, on a
And is
what?
canceled? What?
Yeah. Um, I'm still gonna go ahead and also qualifier. The challenge with TV, spooky TV,
Hmm.
um, which I'm very broad with anything spooky adjacent. I think last year I talked about what we do in the shadows, which
I think that counts.
also ended this year as well.
Ah.
But I would say Halloween Wars every single year because it's always going to be the best. My TV celebrity crush, Shinmin Lee, just fucking kills it every single year, year in and year out. And I just love spooky cakes and I watch it every year. I've been trying to force you to watch it with me.
I
They
know
also
I
had that,
still haven't watched it.
there was also that Matthew Lillard one that we watched on Prime that
Oh
just
yeah, it fell flat.
didn't have
What
the
is it
same magic.
called? No, I don't even remember the name of it.
I don't know if it was just killer cakes or something, or
But I will say I think it is Killer Cakes, but I will say Matthew Lillard is giving it his all. Like he's really trying to make it fun.
he's really happy to be there.
Yeah.
But my top TV, it took me a while to figure out where I landed with it, but I am gonna say the creep tapes. Um, I think this really works in 22-minute segments.
Yeah.
Now, I think the fun part, it's you know how each episode is going to end. He's going to kill somebody,
Yeah.
or whoever's segment is going to die. You know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. So if you go in thinking that that's going to be any different, I don't know. I just
Hmm.
think if anything, it would be such a fun challenge to be like, okay, we've made two movies. Now how can we have this as exciting and compelling if we just do this in 22-minute segments to
Hmm.
like really get to like just really just the meat of these movies,
Yeah.
or and s- and I think it would be really fun as an actor for Mark Duplass to be playing this character who is already a little vague and shady, right?
Hmm.
And but he's like a different character who gets or he gets to play the same character wearing a different hat every episode, almost every episode.
Yeah.
Um, and all of the weird circumstances that would bring somebody with a video camera to meet him, you know, I think is it's still really fun. I think this show definitely keeps, or maybe it really showcases a lot of the humor and uncomfortable humor that's in those first two movies, especially
Agreed.
the first one. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think this is really fun. I think like maybe if they want to make another Creep movie, like yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it. But like
Hmm.
if it was just those two movies and the series, I'm like, this is all I need. Like what a delicious bundle of just this character in a way to sit in this world and to
Hmm.
wring any last juice out of found footage movies and
Yeah.
shows, right? Like, yeah, it's I don't know if it's a basic answer because it was also one of the more hyped up TV shows this year, but that's my choice.
That's okay. It's also my choice, which is maybe a little bit boring, but I absolutely agree. I wasn't sure about the 25-minute format at first. Like I wasn't sure if I liked it, but I did get excited for it because when you get to the end of that first movie and you see all the tapes, you're like, "Oh, like what who's that one and like what did he do here?" So I like seeing more of this character and like you said like all the different situations that he puts himself in, and I think Mark Duplass does a really good job of just being like really creepy and disarming at the same time. Like he does a really good job of going back and forth with that, and it does get very weird. So I appreciate that. And I agree. If they made another movie, I would definitely watch it. But if they kept just doing a show, or if this is like the end of it, I think that's fine too. And he also looks great. He's one of my crushes. So I very much enjoy watching it. And I know I said we'd have backups, but I don't have a backup for television. So I'm sticking with the creep tapes as well.
Halloween Wars will be my backup.
That's okay. That's your backup since you did sneak in one other show.
Guys, there's like 13 years of Halloween Wars that's on Max right now. Just start from the beginning and just enjoy it. It's
Will
so much fun.
anyone let us know if they also watch Halloween Wars? Because Kyle's the only person I've ever heard talk about it. But if it's been going on for 13 years, obviously there's more fans of it.
Oh yeah. I follow Shinmin Lee on Instagram, and she was just sharing some random picture of like her like before and after photos of like her like in or out of like her like hair and makeup. And she's wearing an Orville Peck shirt, and who's one of my favorite artists right now. And I just commented, "Ooh, love the Orville Peck shirt." And she liked it. And and Natalie, the flutter in my heart.
you you were just smitten, huh?
Oh, I had to tell my wife. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Shimin Lee recognized me or didn't know." You know what I mean?
I love it. You're like, we're in love. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry. I think I may went to first base with Shinmin Lee. I think an Instagram like nowadays might be. I don't know.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
not.
That's
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's where Kyle's at in life.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Now the fun part. The funner part. The more fun part. Whatever you want to call it. Okay. How many movies did you actually watch this latter half of the year? And list them out. They don't have to be in any particular order.
Let's see. Not in any particular order. Like Nosferatu, Alien Romulus, watched Smile 2, The Substance, that Speak No Evil remake. I'm gonna count Strange Darling.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, I would count that.
Thriller, you
Wait, did
know.
that come out this year?
Yep, came out in
Oh,
August,
okay.
the second half. And then I watched for a first half movie, I watched Oddity in the last couple months. And then I also watched that M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap, and Terrifier 3. Ooh, and I also watched Heretic, that one with Hugh Grant.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It was good. I liked it. I might be forgetting something, but
Oh, Y2K, you also watched.
are we counting that?
I would count it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. That's so nine.
Oh, that changes my whole thing now.
I know.
I
I
need to
That's why I
change
was
it my top
worried.
three.
You
No, I'm
might
kidding. I'm
you
kidding.
yeah, I'm like you might need to change another category. Okay, so you watched nine. Fantastic. Okay. I watched I guess now 11 because I'll add Strange Darling. I didn't have that on my list. I forgot about it. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but okay, so I watched Strange Darling, Oddity, The Substance, Smile 2, Terrifier 3, Beetlejuice. That's another one that you forgot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um, No Way Up, which technically came out at the beginning half of the year, but I watched it later. Y2K, Speak No Evil, Nosferatu. So 11.
Also, I forget if you watched it already in the first half, but I did watch Tarot in the second half.
Oh, yes. Okay. So we can still add those in if we really want to. Because really I watched Oddity maybe a week after we recorded our mid-year. So because it came out right around that time and I saw it in the theater. So I did put it in my top for the first half of the year. Um just so everyone knows. So I did love it. Okay. I'm switching it. This time we did or last time we did our favorites first. This time we're going to do our least favorites first. Talk a little shit. So give me your first least favorite movie.
That's why I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave out Tarot because I want to include Tarot as the
Really?
two one of the two worst movies I watched in the
You're
second half. I know it's a
harsh.
first half movie. It's bad. I really, man, when PG-13 horror works, fuck, it works and it's great. I love it. Um that Ouija board sequel. Oh my God, it's so good and PG-13. Um and I know I thought of that one recently, but it is obnoxious. It doesn't like really follow like it's like anyone who knows anything about tarot like would be like, I mean, would not endorse any of the logic that this movie tries
That
to
is fair.
present.
Hmm.
Um, and really just man hated all those characters. Not in a way where like Final Destination, where it's like fun to kind of hate them and then they die brutal deaths, because you don't get that in this movie because it's all PG-13, right? So,
Hmm.
that's the challenge. So I would include that one. The second one, oh, I'd give that 1.5 boost, by the way.
Really? You'd give it 1.5? I think I gave it a higher boost score. I didn't love Tarot, but it landed somewhere in the middle for me where it wasn't the worst that I've seen, but it's definitely not in my favorites.
And then, probably the worst movie I watched in the second half, not the worst movie. Okay, it's Tarot, but the second worst movie I watched in the second half. The challenge is that it's a Tubu movie and it's absolutely fine.
Mhm.
And I don't mean to be a hater here, but Terrifier 3. I
Wow, hot take.
I don't those movies are fine and I appreciate them for I love practical gore and the
Hmm.
movie delivers a lot. I think sometimes I still feel like the second one's probably the best one out of the
I
three because
agree.
it's that in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, one, it has that creepy little girl in the second one, and then two, it's like I cannot just be fucking bothered with any of this mythology
The plot.
and
Yeah, we don't need
this
any
like
plot in a Terrifier movie. I absolutely agree.
and this like weird like I don't know like all these like on the nose like like Christian iconography.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. No, thank you. Um, there's some cool kills in this movie, but then also like I'm sorry, way too many off-screen kills,
I
especially
agree.
of important characters.
Hmm. No spoilers.
Especially
Don't go too far.
right. Well, especially but to the point where there's a character where apparently by all means this person is dead, but like I still don't believe it because
Yeah, I agree.
especially like a movie like this, if you're just gonna sit here and like watch him like torture someone and like cut through their asshole and shit for like 5 minutes, and then just tell me someone just dies off screen, you just have to accept that. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't
like
know.
just telephoning it in. Yeah, I agree with that. I do not agree that Terrifier would land in my least favorite category. It was very like mid for me. Um, but I do enjoy the practical effects. The gore is really, really fun to watch, but I absolutely agree. I don't think we need all that plot. I would much rather just see Art the Clown fucking shit up, going around town, miming about, killing people left and right. Like, I just want to just watch him do things. Like, I don't need any plot. I don't even really need a final girl, but I like the character of Sienna, but I would just be glad to watch Art terrorize a different group every movie, and I would be fine with that.
And like I said, a Tubu movie, if that's like one of the worst things I've seen in the second half, like it just kind of shows that I think personally it's been a tremendous year for horror. If like that's what would be my low mark.
Yeah, I think this year actually has been pretty solid. I didn't think it was going to be because the front half of the year was a little bit more rough for me, and then things picked up as we went along. Okay, so
Yeah.
those are your least favorites.
How about you?
All right. Okay, so my first least favorite is the one that you asked, should we even categorize this, which is Y2K. And while I do think it was more of a comedy than a horror movie, it was marketed, I think, as horror. And the other unfortunate part of it is that this was a very fun movie to watch in the theater because we did see this together and we saw it with a friend. And when I tell you that our friend was having the jolliest of times watching this movie, that gave it a whole boo for me, just that alone. So, the reason why I put Y2K in my least favorites is because I went into it thinking it was going to be a little bit more of a horror movie because there are kills in it. There is a little bit of gore, but not too much. But it's mainly a comedy, and the parts that were horror didn't really work at all. So maybe it's getting a lower boo score for me because it actually is a comedy and not a horror movie. But I gave it two boos. And remember, one of those boos is for our good friend, like really laughing it up, having such a good time. So Y2K is my first on my least favorites list.
Also, let's give him a little credit. Noted celebrity San Diego Padres fan Kyle Mooney directed this one. So shout out to him, by the way. Go
Oh,
Padres.
I didn't know that. I love that. Um, so yeah, Y2K. My second least favorite did come out at the beginning of the year, but it was on my list of things I really was excited to watch and didn't watch, and that is No Way Up. As a reminder, because Kyle forgot what this movie was. No Way Up, the premise is so fun. So the premise is we're in an airplane, the airplane crashes in the ocean, has an air pocket, so there is a group of people that are still breathing in the ocean under the water in this airplane, and then sharks enter the equation.
As you do.
Is that not a fun premise?
Um,
I love that.
it seems very dire. Like at that point, I'd be like, I don't know. Come on, guys. Like I think I lose the will to fight. I'd need Thomas Jane to like drag my ass along.
Well, I was really excited to watch it. So I watched this with my son, as I do all shark movies and like aquatic horror. And it was probably my biggest letdown of like a movie that I thought was just going to be silly fun. It was not silly. It was not fun. It was very serious, very dramatic. You barely see sharks. And when you do, you're like seeing like bubbles of blood, like as if this is the fucking 70s. Like you don't see people get like chopped up. Most of them die non-shark deaths. So it like, yeah, I was like, what is the point of this movie? Like you went the total wrong direction. The acting is rough. This movie gets half a boo for me. I would not
Ooh.
recommend it to anyone. Like, and it I mean, cinematography wise, it's fine. Effects wise, it's fine. But it was just such a bore to watch it. I could not. I did not like it.
And since we are using the secondary soft boost scale, I would maybe like want to tie Taro maybe then with a trap because man, you get me really excited when Josh Hartnett is back in the game.
Yeah.
But oh my Jesus,
You
don't
had a
don't
high
watch
bar
it.
for it. See, so it
Yeah.
was in my most anticipated list. And then I didn't end up watching it because it got such bad reviews and like the horror community didn't love it. And I'm like, if we don't love something that has Josh Hartnett in it, that's a bad sign for that movie.
I just didn't like want it. Like I decided to include it in the movies that I watched, but it is more of a thriller. It's not a horror movie.
Okay, that's good to know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe I'd enjoy it more knowing that it's a thriller, but I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I didn't yet. So, okay, that's good. We didn't overlap on our least favorites. So, there you go. Okay. Now more fun and where we probably will overlap, so we'll get to maybe talk about a few extras. What were your top two favorites? Remember, last 6 months. So no one get mad at Kyle if he doesn't say your favorite from the first 6 months of the year.
So, like I said, I do think it's been a great year, and I do think that even a lot of the strength is on the back half. Um, like I would say the most fun I've had in a movie theater this year is Smile 2. but it's
Mm.
not in my top two favorites.
Wow. Okay.
Um, I liked Nosferatu. I know that there's some divide on that, and I understand most of it. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and say my second favorite movie of this year, or of this back half. Spoiler alert, maybe. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna say,
You don't have to put them in any order.
yeah, that's true. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll start off by saying The Substance.
Mm.
Um, I just love Demi Moore so
Ah,
much.
don't we all?
And it is just such a joy um to see her in horror.
And in prosthetics. Wow.
She she looks so good. And the gore looks so
Ah,
good.
yeah.
And shout out to Margaret Qualley because I think that her performance doesn't it's really good too, but she doesn't get as much to work with like Demi Moore
Yeah, she
gets.
doesn't get as much fun.
And it is my favorite um practical gore movie of the year.
Mm.
There were a lot of great showcases. I mean, like I said, hey, Terrifier 3 had some great shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um in a Violent Nature, I know a lot of people are back and forth on that movie, but at least
Mm-hmm.
some of those kills were really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And but this movie like is just so much fun. And and sure, whatever, who cares if it's like messaging is like a little on the nose about just like the
Very on
commodification
the nose.
of and throwing away of female bodies. But when there's just that part at the end, I
Don't
just
spoil.
I was just ear to ear grinning and just enjoying like what a just a batshit movie this is. And
Mm-hmm.
it is so much fun to see that it's getting some awards talk.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't watch the Oscars ever, but like I might if
Maybe at
if
least
that
for
movie
those
gets,
categories that it's nominated in.
which I know they'll never get, but at the same time, like she deserves it, and I can't.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many great performances this year, but like
Demi
man, it
Moore.
just everyone's so good but sucks. In any other year, maybe the woman from Smile 2 would have like the best
Oh yeah.
performance of the year.
So
But I'm like,
good.
I'm sorry, Demi Moore just fucking kills
Mm-hmm.
it. So The Substance. And also another one that I had mentioned, Strange Darling,
Mm.
is
Wow.
is it's not a perfect movie by any
You
means. And
wouldn't
I
consider that more of a thriller?
well, mm, ooh, I mean, what if we're gonna call it a thriller, then I would replace it with Smile 2, probably.
Mm. And I'll let
But
you choose Strange Darling because we added it to the list, or I added it to my
yeah,
list. So I'd consider it a thriller with horror elements.
what a cool cast. You've got uh Kyle Gallner,
Mm,
right? As the
looking fine as fuck in that movie. Ooh,
sure.
woo!
He's industry legend, right?
Industry legend Kyle Gallner.
And you've got Willa Fitzgerald, who is on her way to being an industry legend as well.
Yeah.
And you got fucking Ed Begley Jr., fucking maybe industry legend, not in horror. Industry legend Barbara Hershey.
Mm,
It's so good. Jason Patrick shows up in here. It's just such a fun movie, and it takes all of the left turns I think a movie could take sometimes, and it is a very intense movie.
hmm.
Um, Definitely trigger warning. A lot of you know, it's I don't want to like I feel like saying just sexualized violence is too broad and doesn't have the nuance that is
Well,
needed to kind of explain how the movie approaches it. But it's it is just so captivating to watch,
mhm.
and I had a lot of fun with it. I do think it stumbles a little bit at the end. A lot of horror movies do,
Yeah.
or whatever, if it's thriller, horror, whatever. But that movie just really stuck with me, and I
Mm.
can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, I watched Strange Darling once and I really enjoyed it too. It's not in my favorites, but yeah, I think everyone's performance is really great. It's weird. It's I think the piece that you mentioned with the sexual violence is confusing and a little bit problematic. Like in the beginning, like it's more of a bondage type situation, and then it evolves into, you know, something else, but I don't
Spoiler
want to,
alert.
yeah, well, I
Yeah,
don't want to, well, I mean, bondage is fine. But but it's one of those things where it's a complicated movie. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's not like in my favorites. But when I was watching it, like, wow, what a roller coaster of like feelings and like just emotions watching it. Like I was really wanted to know what was going to happen next. So I did enjoy that one too, but it's not in my favorites. You did take one of my favorites though, which was The Substance as well.
that makes
Um
sense.
yeah, I had so much fun watching the movie. It's so long and I didn't care. I I just loved it. I agree with everything that you said. I think Demi Moore deserves all the awards. I love just how it looks visually is gorgeous. Like there's beautiful people and there's ugly things happening too. Like there's just it's very like visceral. Just watching it was very fun and uncomfortable. And I felt, I mean, I'm 37 and I related to a lot of what Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth Sparkle, was like feeling. Like I felt a lot of those moments that she went through. So watching it like by myself as a woman in the theater and just seeing like it is very on the nose, but the loss of value that women have as they age, in that industry and even just in life in like a regular workplace as well, but also seeing the flip side of it of the value that you have when you're young and beautiful and how important that is in society. I think a lot of people are focusing on the flip side of the lack of attention when aging, but that enhanced attention when you're young and fresh and perfect is like how I think Sue is described. I think is also really important to call out too. So yeah, and the practical effects are fucking amazing. The body horror is amazing. I love body horror. It makes me cringe. That movie did an excellent job of that. Like it's amazing. I'm giving that 4 boos, and only because I've seen it only once. It definitely would be a 5 boo movie for me if I watch it again. I won't give anything that I've only seen once 5 boos.
Yeah, I would say 4 boos for both Strange Darling and Substance for me. I forgot to give those.
Hmm. Yeah. And then my second top favorite was your backup, which is Smile 2. Really unexpected. Like I was excited to watch it and I knew it would be better than the first one, but holy shit, did they correct everything that was wrong with the first one and took all of the good and put it in a really fun setting. And then I don't remember the name of the actress who plays Sky Riley. She like she was incredible. Her acting, her performance was so good. I was so entertained this entire movie, and it's the only horror movie that I watched this year that actually scared me. Like I felt scared when I was watching it. The fucking dancers in that movie, they're scary. They did a great job.
Naomi Scott.
Naomi Scott, she and also like just the way that they wardrobed her. Oh my gosh. Like everything about that movie I think was so fun. Like I also would give that 4 boos as well. It was definitely an unexpected favorite for me and I would highly recommend seeing it. If you missed it in the theater, that sucks because it was great in the theater. But
Yeah.
I would definitely say not enough people are talking about it and I think it was excellent.
I low key would have loved to see another um Power Rangers movie with her. She was the Pink Ranger in that remake.
Yeah. Yeah.
That like low key had some great people in it.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
Yeah, gosh, I just hope that this is helping just her getting, you know, the the kudos that she gets. She was also
Yeah.
in that Aladdin remake with Will Smith.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize her from that to this. I was like, who is she? I've never seen her before because that short blonde haircut, like, I mean, it really suits her. She looks excellent with it. But
Mm,
yeah, I think the scares are so effective. I think the story is interesting. It's strong from beginning to end, which I don't think a lot of horror movies can say. Like, I think the pacing is on point. It's beautiful to watch. Like, everything is of her performances, even like as Sky Riley, it feels very like Lady Gaga, which is really fun. And the songs are really fun too. I like her music. You can listen to them on Spotify too. So that's
love
fun.
it.
Yeah, so I would definitely say Smile 2 was a favorite for me. So, okay, good. We did the substance was a winner, but we didn't overlap completely. Good for us. Look at us. Okay. What were your most anticipated from earlier this year, and did they live up to the hype? Do you remember what your most anticipated were?
I would be surprised if I didn't say Nosferatu.
That yes, you did. You did say that was most anticipated.
That is still my most anticipated of the year. And I would say that it mostly, I'd say 80% of my expectations were met.
Yeah.
Of like high expectations, right?
Mm,
I liked all of Robert Eggers' movies so far, even The Northman, which it isn't horror and people are a little back and forth on, but this movie, Nosferatu, was just all vibes and
mm,
I liked it a lot. And it's, I mean, I think most of the acting was really good and I personally liked how they altered the ending from the 1922 version to give Ellen's
spoilers.
character a little more agency in the movie. Um, I think for a higher budget Christmas Day release horror movie, it goes pretty hard, which I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate. Um, and it shows a little, honestly, I think it shows a little more child death than Terrifier 3 was a little too afraid to show.
More spoilers, but yeah, I do agree with that. I I do think that it would be a fun movie to talk about like as an episode. I will say that because there's a lot to it, but it was not one of my most anticipated. I actually I'll be honest to everyone here and to Kyle. The only reason why I watched it is because I was like, I can't get through this year without seeing this movie and it not being spoiled. So I was like, okay, I've got to watch it before we talk about our favorites and to see where I land on it. I went into it expecting not to like it at all. So and I was surprised. I actually did like it. I didn't love it. I think it's very overhyped. Like I'm gonna go ahead and say like super duper overhyped. Um, I think so. Kyle's giving me a face like he does not agree. Um, and I think that's because it's a big budget horror movie and it has a beautiful, spooky aesthetic. The acting is really great. Like that it has great effects. I do think I agree it went really hard, but I think critically it's getting praised a lot. And it does a lot of the things that usually critically horror movies get like just shunned for. So I feel like it's a little unbalanced. Maybe that's a hot take, but that bothers me a lot when things like that happen because I think that this movie is going to get away with a lot of things that other horror films don't and get criticized for. So I'll leave that there. But I think it would be a fun episode because of I think we'd be a little divided on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your other most anticipated?
I think I forgot to say Beetlejuice in the mid-year.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know how hyped I was really to see it, but
you just yeah, we're like, I'm going to see this. I have to see this.
yeah.
But yeah,
And again, I'd say
it was fine.
yeah, yeah, most, 70% expectations met. It's like it's
Yeah,
fine. I like it. Michael Keaton's like,
always
just
great.
putting on an old coat, just riding a bike again. Like he's got it. Of
Hmm.
course, Catherine O'Hara is just always
Ugh,
going to be an industry legend, right?
always.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. And it was like exactly what you would expect out of a legacy sequel. It was entertaining enough. It had a little bit of fan service. It made a couple of swings and misses, but I think it was fun to see in the theater.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Um, okay, I had three that were my most anticipated. So Trap was one of them, and I already addressed that I haven't even watched it because of just negative response. So I was like, I'm not gonna waste my time with that shit if nobody's liking it. My other most anticipated was Terrifier 3, and it met my expectations. I got out of it what I thought I would, and I was hoping it would be better than the second one, but I mean, how often is a third chapter better than a second chapter? And it wasn't. So,
Paranormal Activity.
okay.
Just off the
That's
top of my
fair.
head,
That's fair.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay. Well, here we go.
Um,
Obviously, Kyle's not a fan, but I was I anticipated it because I love Art the Clown outside of all of the plot and all of those things. And like those movies fly by for me no matter how long they are. So I it, it met my expectations. My other most anticipated was Smile 2, which exceeded my expectations. I thought it was excellent. So the ones that I had my eyes on for the most part ended up being being fine or fun. So that worked out. Now, not in any particular order. What are your top three for the year? You can only pick three.
can I start with can I start with a very, very honorable mention?
And it can be for the year. Not
Yeah,
obviously, this is for the year, not for just the back half. Fine, you can give one honorable mention,
thank you.
which means I get to as well.
I would love to bestow a very strong honorable mention to what I really thought was going to be my favorite movie at the end of the
Mm.
year, and that was Late Night with the Devil.
Mm. Okay.
Again, I
It
think
got
just
pushed out.
the strength of this back half. Spoiler alert, everybody, but I do think that gosh, that movie is so much fun. Go see it. I don't even need to say
Mhm.
anything else. Go see
Yeah,
it. It's
everyone
so
should
much
watch
fun.
it. Yeah.
My top three, two I've already mentioned. Strange Darling and The Substance.
Wow, Strange Darling made it into your top three.
Yeah. And I would say they're like both either interchangeable between two and three. But one thing I am gonna stick with from my mid-year is my number one horror film of this year
Mm.
is Osgood Perkins' Long Legs. Um, Soft spoiler. I love that no matter how like just serious and or quote unquote elevated and just dour and just bleak this movie is, um, with a wonderful fucking turn from Nicolas Cage. If he probably gets if Demi Moore gets Best Actress, he probably gets at least Best Supporting Actor, probably.
Yeah,
And
he's really good.
but again, at the end of all of that, it's still a Nicolas Cage movie about a possessed doll. And I love that so
Hardly.
much. It is still
Hardly.
technically, if you told me Nicolas Cage and Alicia Witt are starring in a movie about possessed dolls, I just don't think that would get the same. That would, I
It would
think
have had
they,
my ass in the seat for sure.
right? It is very much what do you call that thing when everybody sneaks into that a Trojan horse, right? Where you think this is like some really like elevated shit, but it's still so much fun. I liked it. I really, again, I'm sorry, just in a year with Demi Moore, I'm sorry, but Micah Monroe is so good and so
Hard
compelling. And
disagree.
I know you hard disagree on this. She is like her, Naomi Scott, Demi Moore, three favorite performances this year.
Mm.
And yeah, because it doesn't necessarily have to be like a protagonist I like,
Hmm.
or understand even, but I don't know. I think the way that she plays it is just so compelling to watch and very nuanced, and I really appreciate her. She is absolutely a budding industry legend, if I have not said that already.
You
Um,
have.
Long Legs is great. Watch it. It's fantastic.
Wow.
That's my number one of the year. That
Wow.
which I would give 4 boos, probably 4 boos to all three of those.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Very, very controversial here. Maybe not for like everyone else, but for me. Um,
Hardly. At the end of the year, if you said that The Substance and Long Legs, I don't think anyone's really fighting too hard
no,
on that.
I will. But here's the thing. Before I share my three favorites, I think there have been a lot of movies this year that would be really fun conversations for us to have based off of like I think there's a few that the two of us, even if we both like them, like I'm thinking of like Strange Darling, like I'm actually really surprised that that was in your top. I love it too, but based off of conversations that we've had prior to this, I would think that it wouldn't have landed in your favorite, but I'll save that for maybe later, right? I think so.
Yeah,
But I will say, I absolutely hard disagree on Long Legs. It was not even close to being a top movie for me. The more I reflect on it, the more I dislike it. But I've only watched it once. I saw it in the theater. I was expecting it to be scary. I was wrong.
it
It
was.
it is not a horror movie. That is a
It is.
thriller. It's a thriller so hard. I know no one will agree with me on this. I think Nicolas Cage is incredible. I even liked Elise Witt, and I know you weren't like a super fan of her performance. And there were parts of that movie that I did genuinely enjoy, but it will not be a top movie for me ever. So that might be a fun episode for us. So everyone can hear me just bitch and complain about it. Um, but my top three. So my honorable mention is to Oddity because that was in my top for the beginning of the year.
Really fun.
I think it's such a fun movie. I won't really say much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, but what it lacks in like substance of the plot, the whole like vibe and feeling of the movie and anything that's creepy or, just there's just something about it that was a really fun watch and I felt like very at the edge of my seat like not knowing what was going to happen next and it ends really strong too, which is also a rare find in horror. So I will give an honorable mention to Oddity. I think I gave that one three and a half boos, but I might push it to 4 boos when I watch it again. But my top three, I'm keeping Late Night with the Devil in my top. I agree. I think it's such a fun movie. I recommend it to a lot of people when they ask like what they should watch if they haven't seen it. And I was lucky to catch it in the theater. So that also like made it more fun. Um, the Substance also is another top one for me. I as soon as I saw it, I knew I was like, this is going to be one of my favorites of the year. Like I didn't have any doubts that I would watch anything else that would push it out. And I'm really excited to watch it again because I haven't seen it a second time. I've only seen it in the theater. So to watch it at home and really like get to take it all in a second time, I think would be really fun. So again, I think everyone should watch that movie. I would recommend it to anyone who likes body horror. I will say, since we love bringing up Cousin Vinny, Cousin Vinny loves horror and does not love gore. And this man went and saw this movie knowing it was a body horror film and absolutely like ripped it to shreds, hated it. Since he's seen it, though, he did say he would watch it again and give it a second chance because as he reflected on it, he was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't that bad of a movie. So maybe he's more flexible than I am with Long Legs. Um, and then my third favorite, or not third favorite, but in my top three, I'm not ranking them, is Smile 2. I had so much fun watching it. I would watch it again. And I've recommended it to a lot of people. I'm like, if you want to be scared, I would watch that for sure. I think it was very effective. And if you're not, especially if you're not like a big horror fan and you're like just really callous to everything, I think the scares are still like they're really fun. So that's my top three. Um, okay. So that's all of our movies that we've seen. Any of them that you like that we didn't talk about that you wanted to leave space for? I think we actually talked about every single one on our list.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Night Swim again?
No, but I will say, low key, that Speak No Evil remake with James McAvoy
Oh yes.
is pretty fun. I'd say go ahead and watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you have the ability to watch the original one that
I'd
only
say
came
watch
out like a
both.
couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
watch the original one first.
Agreed.
Um, because I think it just helps keep things really tense for the remake.
Yes, because you're really wondering if it's going to go the same way. Like I think that was the most tense for me was like, is this going to be like the original or are they going to do different things? But when anything that's slightly different makes it like kind of fun and you get like curious. So I agree. I think that's a fun watch. And I would say check it out. I think I gave it
Yeah.
2.5 boos.
Yeah. I think give it a three. I think it's fun.
Yeah. It is really uncomfortable to watch though. Like if you'll be uncomfortable watching it for sure. Both of them.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. Good
Um,
call out.
I've James McAvoy, of course, has been in well, the only horror thing off the top of my head is that Split movie, which I never actually saw.
I haven't
But
seen it either.
the woman that plays his partner, I'm gonna butcher this name, I'm sorry, but Aisling Franciosi, um, she was in stop motion earlier this year, and she was really great in that too. So she's been in two wonderful horror performances this year. So shout out to her.
That's one that I haven't checked out yet. That's still been on my list. So I'll get to it too because I do want to watch stop motion.
And allegedly she's in Last Voyage of the Demeter, but I don't think I need to watch that.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so another fun thing that we did last year and we'll do again this year, and we have an official title for this now. So we did have an Industry Legend of the Year award last year, which was awarded to Tony Todd. Tony
Rest in peace,
Todd,
Tony Todd.
rest in peace. Always an industry legend. I think that was but that really broke the horror community. It was a big loss. So he'll be missed. Um, but we're gonna do an industry legend award again this year. Do you want to share our new name or should I?
Industry Legend Award, aka the 321 GOAT Award, to the industry legend of industry legends,
Mm,
the shiniest, brightest stars amongst a sea of lovely stars. Um, I I think that there are a lot of strong candidates this year, but I
yeah.
think I think from the very beginning of the year, um, we was it January or February? We did Reanimator.
Mm,
I forget, but so very early on, we were like, this is definitely going to be our 321 GOAT of the Year
mm.
award.
I
And
know. We've done a few movies
right.
too.
And that's
Hmm.
the thing, we want to make sure that, our industry legend award goes to, someone who's been in movies that we've covered at least this year.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think that this person is just fucking incredible. You go ahead. You want to reveal?
Yeah. It's Miss Barbara Crampton. And it's her and
Da-da-da-da.
the day that we're recording, it's her birthday today as well.
Happy
So this is our
birthday.
this is our birthday gift to Barbara Crampton.
You
If you're
fucking
listening,
legend.
Barbara. Yeah. Such
So
a
good.
fucking legend. She's amazing. Yeah, totally well deserved. And I think we've covered 3 movies with Barbara Crampton in it this year. So we've done Bride of Reanimator, From Beyond, and Chopping Mall. So all super fun.
And I think I've given very great boo scores to all three. So Barbara Crampton, thank you so much. Your trophy is in transit. I don't know when it'll get to you. And congratulations.
Yeah, she's great. So
Love it.
we love Barbara Crampton. We'll do more movies of hers too, because she's still got quite a few we haven't even talked about, thought
Yeah.
about. Yeah. Um, okay, another fun one. Thinking about our podcast, this time we have a whole year of episodes rather than only like 6 months of episodes. I would like to hear what your favorite episode of ours this year is. If you could have our listeners listen to any one episode, what would you choose and why?
If I had to choose any one episode for someone to listen to this year, ooh, man, Scream 2 is a doozy because it's a long one,
It is
three
a long
plus
one.
hours.
But
Yeah, that's
it is a fun episode and it was pretty popular.
but sticking with sequels, um, I really think, well, I don't want to factor in just my performance, but I do think I shine brightest when I'm talking about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And
So which episode are you talking about? Because you've brought it up several times.
several times. Um, I'm gonna say I do also appreciate I really loved the Rocky Horror episode.
Hmm.
One, because I thought it was such a fun conversation. Two, really loved fucking around with Time Warp for the theme song.
That was very fun, the opening theme.
So that was a highlight for the year for me. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I Still Know What You Did Last Summer was
I
really fun to talk about.
I picked the same one. I'm for just because one, we all know Kyle really wanted to talk about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And that's probably the only reason why we talked about I Know What You Did Last Summer. And two, you're just on fire in that episode. You're a riot. Like you can tell Kyle has thought about this movie way more than maybe anyone else has, more than Jennifer Love Hewitt herself. Because yeah, it I was cracking up through that whole episode, and even listening to it again, I it gave me a good chuckle. So I also would choose I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
I think also talking about Final Destination 4 was pretty fun. It's a more
Yeah.
recent one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun one too. Yeah. So yeah, listen to our episode on I Still Know What You Did Last Summer if you want to hear Kyle's passion. I just really shine through.
Yeah.
And me just maybe saying a couple words here and there.
Love it.
Um, do you want to share any of your most anticipated for 2025?
Well,
Anything
keeping
you're
in
looking forward
theme,
to?
easy answer. July 18th. I have it circled on my calendar. I will be absolutely in that seat watching I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I'm assuming that's the title.
Yeah, it's just they're doing this basically just doing the same thing Scream did, where it's just like, let's just call it Scream.
Mm.
And then you have to like now always on every DVD or every Blu-ray, you have to say, it's a new movie,
The year in
y'all.
parentheses. Yeah.
Right. Um, but yeah, you got I'm still holding out hope that Brandy is gonna sign on and show up in this movie.
I hope they keep it a
Um,
secret if she does. That way we
I do
just don't
too.
know.
Or do like the Hayden Panettiere route and kind of like hint that she's still alive, because well,
Mm-hmm.
we know Brandy's alive because she survives the
Yeah.
second one, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like it was kind of in the dark like it was with Kirby's character. But yeah, especially Jennifer Love Hewitt just signed on. She shared a post on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. A super cute post too.
Oh, I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
am so excited. It does it with a tinge of sadness because you are getting behind the scenes pics from Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That was so cruel for her to do
Ah,
that to all of us. And she put something like behind the scenes of Scooby-Doo 3.
would you say it was intentionally cruel
Oh
of
my
Sarah Michelle
gosh.
Gellar.
Terrible. Absolutely
Thanks.
terrible.
But yeah, oh, number one, there is no other horror movie I'm thinking about next year. I know what you did last summer.
Wow.
100%.
You forgot one.
What?
Um, so I know what you did last summer is also on my list. I'm going to list them in reverse order of release date. So I'm really excited for I know what you did last summer. And then Final Destination 6, which I know we've given so much shit to the franchise as we've gone through it. I have high hopes. Like I'm excited to see it in the theater and I'm excited to see like what's the opening. Like and also like it's coming out right around my birthday, so like it's a win. I'm excited to see it.
I'm pretty sure they were like, what's the Friday closest to Kyle's birthday to release I Know What You Did Last Summer? And they did it. So, spoiler alert, I'm a Cancer, everybody. And they were like, how do we just do
Such
this?
a
How do we make this the
cancer.
most memorable thing? You know what? I bet that there are a number of listeners that go, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love it.
Um, I'm told I'm very obviously Cancer, so
You are. And I'm not a big astrology buff, but yes, that is true. So yeah, I am looking forward to Final Destination 6. Even if it ends up being mediocre, I'm still gonna have a good time watching it in the theater. And then I have a third one, which is Hard Eyes, which is gonna be a slasher in February with our boy Devon Sawa.
love that. Isn't Mason Gooding also in that too?
Oh yeah, I think so. Oh, it's gonna be a hot movie. That's perfect for Valentine's Day. I'm ready for it. So that's also on my most anticipated. It honestly, I have no idea what it will be like or what it will be about. It could be really dumb, but I'm into it. I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
Anything else you want to share about 2024 horror? I think it's been a really good year.
No, I don't think so. I was gonna offer, is there anything just right off the top of your head? I know I gave you no time to prep for this.
Oh no, I love to prep.
What's your favorite non-horror thing you've enjoyed this
Like
year?
movie,
Could be anything.
I have digested so little non-horror? That's a really difficult question.
You shouldn't have a whole
Hmm.
lot to choose from.
I know, but I can't think of anything that I've watched that is not horror, which is not a good sign for the things that I have watched.
All right, you want me to buy you some time?
Yeah, yeah, you go first.
Um, Literally the only non-horror thing that I watched this year was X-Men 97, the cartoon that was on
Oh,
Disney Plus
okay.
that came out earlier this year.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not even the world's biggest X-Men fan, nor did I necessarily. I mean, I watched that cartoon in the 90s when it came out, but I didn't necessarily have the same investment, maybe, as other people my age did.
Oh, I loved it.
Watching this, I'm like, this show, and this might sound dramatic, but
No.
X-Men 97 is probably the most, for me, perfect version of the X-Men and those characters. It is so
Hmm.
much fun. I've had
I
so much
agree.
superhero fatigue over the years. I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, we really have.
I've been checked out of Marvel for years now. With
Same.
maybe I'll watch a Spider-Man movie here and there, but X-Men 97 was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it, and I was like emotionally moved by a lot of it and shocked by a lot of it too. I think it takes a bunch of big swings.
Hmm.
It is so weird how the show just is a lot more adult, but also how it retains all of the campiness from a 90s cartoon. So it's a little weird how it balances that. And I won't say that it balances it perfectly all the time,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, right? But yeah, geez, fuck yeah. I had so much fun with it.
Hmm. I have only watched, I think, the first three episodes of it, but I did love it too. So I was watching it with my son, and he was like, "This is boring," and that made me sad because I was like, "Okay, maybe it's a little bit too like dramatic for you." But he also didn't have like all the backstory. Like that was his first introduction to X-Men. which is on me, honestly. I'm sorry, everyone. Um, but yeah, he didn't love it, so then I stopped watching it, but I should go back to it. Um, okay, this is gonna be really funny. Can I name something really old that I just happened to watch this year for like the first time all the way through? Does
I
that count?
think I think I know what this is, so go for
I
it.
think you do too. So I know that this show is from the early 2000s, but for the first time ever, I watched from beginning to end Sex in the City.
But it started late 90s.
It may have started late 90s and then ended in the early 2000s.
Hmm.
I had never watched it all the way through. I think everyone knows the characters just from, it having been such a big deal. Um, I have to say, if you weren't there when it happened, boy, does it not work watching it in 2024. It feels very dated. There's a lot of really great things. I think watching it as a woman in my late 30s, watching other women in their late 30s was very fun and relatable in a lot of ways. But boy, oh boy, did some of the like casual homophobia and just some of the language just doesn't age well. But other than that, I thought it was really fun. I'm sure there's a lot of people who love Sex in the City. I can't think of anything that I watched that was non-horror that really like rocked my socks. So I really can't think of anything. How sad.
That's why we usually stick with horror. It makes
That's
sense.
why, that's exactly why. And also why we prepare.
Yeah.
I was like looking through my Netflix and like Prime history, and it's like all like my son's movies. It's like Despicable Me 4. That was not a highlight.
Oof. Oof. Ah, oof.
I
That's
know.
rough.
I know. Um, good question. So yeah, that's 2024.
Yeah.
As always.
Happy New Year, everybody.
I know. Happy New Year. How wild that it'll be 2025. We're like a quarter into this century.
Stop.
I know. And we saw it turn.
Stop.
Y2K. It was just like that. If you want to see how that went, you can
Yeah.
watch Y2K for reference. It was exactly like that.
The jams were all the same. The vibes were close.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
between Y2K and Fear the Spotlight being like kind of a 90s mock kind of game. And I saw the TV Glow, which is also, it takes place in the late 90s.
I
It's
still need to
very,
watch that too.
it's a very strange, also such a great movie. Also very, very high honorable mention.
Mhm.
Um, it was a nostalgic year for people our age.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. I think it's because we're the best age.
I wouldn't say that, but
We're close to.
yeah.
So, yeah. Good year. We're going to keep doing this into 2025. So, if you are enjoying our podcast, I've got to self promote. That's my New Year's resolution is to promote our podcast more than ever. So please, if you're enjoying our podcast and you've listened to it, if you don't already follow us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram at 321 Ghost Pod. If you have any movies that you'd like to hear us talk about, and yes, we may be a little harsh with our listener requests every now and then, but hey, if you want us to talk about it, we will. You can message us on Instagram, you can email us 321ghostpod@gmail.com. And if you've listened to multiple episodes of our podcast and you haven't subscribed or followed us, do that too. Damn it. Get on it. Write us a review. 5 stars only. That's all we'll accept, as always. And that's it. You got anything else, Kyle?
Happy New Year, Natalie. That's all I got.
Oh, Happy New Year to you. All right. Until next year.
You're like that kid at the fucking there's always that one asshole kid at the end of, school before winter break and they're like, see you
See you
next
next
year.
year. Yeah.
And you're just like, bro, it's gonna be in a week and a half. Like, come on, stop it.
I've
Time,
been I've been saying that to everyone.
I'm sure you have. I would have rolled my eyes at you in kindergarten. I would have rolled my eyes at you now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. See you next year. 3, 2, 1, ghost. Thanks for listening to our end of year recap for 2024 horror. I hope you didn't think I was done with the self promotion, because I'm not. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to our podcast and leave us a killer review on whichever platform you choose to listen. You can find us on Instagram at 321 Ghost Pod and give us a follow. We're very active on Instagram and would love to hear from you. You can shoot an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any thoughts, questions, or let us know if you'd like to hear us cover more new releases. Next year, we're wrapping up our Final Destination franchise with Final Destination 5. Thanks again for listening. Whether this is your first episode or if you've been listening all year, we appreciate you. Happy New Year. 3, 2, 1, ghost.